Today we celebrate the feast of St. Peter Damian, a Benedictine monk who strove to purify the Church. In his 2009 general audience, Pope Benedict XVI described him as one of the most significant figures of the 11th century, committed personally to the task of reform. Born in the year 1007 in Ravenna, Italy, belonged to a large family but lost his mommy and daddy early in life. An older brother took the boy into his household but treated him poorly. Another brother, who happened to be a priest, took steps to provide for his education, and the priest's own name, Damian, became his younger brother's surname. Peter excelled in school while taking up forms of asceticism such as fasting, wearing a hair shirt, and spending long hours in prayer, with an emphasis on reciting the Psalms. He offered hospitality to the poor as a means of serving Christ. The monks he chose to join in the hermitage of Fonte Avellana lived out their devotion to the cross of Christ through the rigorous rule of life, because he decided to follow the order of Saint Benedict. They lived mainly on bread and water, prayed 150 psalms daily, and practiced many physical mortifications. Peter embraced the way of life almost excessively at first, which led to a bout with insomnia. Deeply versed in the Bible and the writings of earlier theologians, Peter developed his own theological acumen and became a skilled preacher. The leaders of other monasteries sought his help to build up their monks in holiness, and in 1043 he took up a leadership position at Fonte Avellana. 5 other hermitages were established under his direction. Serious corruption plagued the church during Peter's lifetime, including the sale of religious offices and immorality among many of the clergy. Through his writings and involvements in controversies of the day, the prior of Fonte Avellana called on members of the hierarchy to live out their commitments and strive for holiness. In 1057, Pope Stephen IX became determined to make Peter Damian a bishop, a goal he accomplished only by demanding the monks' obedience under threat of excommunication. Consecrated as the Bishop of Ostia, he joined the College of Cardinals and wrote a letter encouraging its members to set an example for the whole Church. When Pope Stephen died in 1058 and the election of his successor Nicholas VII, Peter's involvement in church controversies grew. He supported Pope Nicholas against a rival claimant to the papacy and went to Milan as the Pope's representative when a crisis broke out over canonical and moral issues. There he was forced to confront rioters who rejected papal authority. Peter, meanwhile, wished to withdraw from these controversies and return to the contemplative life, but Nicholas's death in 1061 caused another papal succession crisis, which the cardinal bishop helped to resolve in favor of Alexander II. That pope kept the cardinal bishop of Ostia occupied with a series of journeys and negotiations for the next 6 years. In 1067, Peter Damian was allowed to resign and return to the monastery. But 2 years later, Pope Alexander needed him to prevent the German King Henry IV from divorcing his wife. Peter lived another 2 years in the monastery before making a pilgrimage to Monte Cassino, the birthplace of the Benedictine order. In 1072, Peter returned to his own birthplace of Ravenna to reconcile the local church with the Pope. The monk's last illness came upon him during his return from this final task, and he died after a week at the Benedictine monastery in Faenza during February of that year. He was never formally canonized, but St. Peter Damian was celebrated as a saint after his death in many of the places associated with his life. In 1823, Pope Leo XII named him a doctor of the Church and extended the observance of his feast day throughout the Western Church. St. Peter Damian, very interesting life. Check on my Facebook page and read a little bit more. I'm sure you will be delighted and surprised. God bless y'all.